أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أفلا يتدبرون القرآن أم على قلوب أقفالها.
First of all, my dear friend, if you liked the video and benefited from it, do not forget to participate in the reward by liking it, publishing it, subscribing to the channel, and activating the bell so that you receive all new updates. Let's start with the blessing of Allah Almighty.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
قالوا ادع لنا ربك يبين لنا ما هي إن البقرة شابه علينا وإنا إن شاء الله لمهتدون. قال إنه يقول إنها بقرة لا ذلول تثير الأرض ولا تسقي الحرث مسلمة لا شية فيها. قالوا الآن جئت بالحق فذبحوها وما كادوا يفعلون. وإذ قتلتم نفسا فادارأتم فيها والله مخرج ما كنتم تكتمون. فقلنا اضربوه ببعضها كذلك يحيي الله الموتى ويريكم آياته لعلكم تعقلون. ثم قست قلوبكم من بعد ذلك فهي كالحجارة أو أشد قسوة. وإن من الحجارة لما يتفجر منه الأنهار وإن منها لما يشقق فيخرج منه الماء وإن منها لما يهبط من خشية الله وما الله بغافل عما تعملون. أفتطمعون أن يؤمنوا لكم وقد كان فريق منهم يسمعون كلام الله ثم يحرفونه من بعد ما عقلوه وهم يعلمون. وإذا لقوا الذين آمنوا قالوا آمنا وإذا خلا بعضهم إلى بعض قالوا أتحدثونهم بما فتح الله عليكم ليحاجوكم به عند ربكم أفلا تعقلون.
Contemplative pauses. First pause. In the saying of Allah the Almighty, and indeed we, if Allah wills, will be guided. If people hadn't made an exception and said, we will definitely be guided by Allah's will, they would never have been guided to it. Ibn Kathir, 1/104. Second pause. In the saying of Allah the Almighty, they said, now you have come with the truth. And this is due to their ignorance, otherwise the truth had already come to them. If they had only objected to any cow, they would have achieved their goal, but they kept asking too many questions, so Allah made it difficult for them. Al-Sadi, 55. Third pause. In the saying of Allah the Almighty, so they slaughtered her, but they could hardly do it, because of their disobedience and their frequent questioning, or because of the high price of the cow, as it was said that it was an orphan, and they bought it for its weight in gold, or because of the scarcity of that quality. It has been narrated that if they slaughtered the smallest cow, it would have been sufficient for them, but they insisted, so it was insisted upon it. Ibn Juzay, 1/70. Fourth pause. In the saying of Allah the Almighty, then your hearts became hardened after that, being like stones or even harder. Then he described her cruelty as being like stones, which are harder than iron, because iron and lead, when melted in fire, melt unlike stones. Al-Sadi, 55. Fifth pause. In the saying of Allah the Almighty, then your hearts became hardened after that, being like stones or even harder. The praised strength of the heart is not its condemned harshness, for it should be strong without violence and gentle without weakness. Ibn Taymiyyah, 1/243. Sixth pause. In the saying of Allah the Almighty, for indeed there are stones from which rivers burst forth, and there are some of them that split open, and water comes out, and there are some of them that fall down for fear of Allah. Some stones are more beneficial than your hearts, as water comes out of them, and they deteriorate. Mujahid said, no stone from the top of a mountain deteriorates, nor does a river burst forth from a stone, nor does water come out of it except out of fear of Allah. The Qur'an descended with that. Al-Qurtubiyyah 2/208. Seventh pause. In the saying of Allah the Almighty, do you covet the hope, O believers, that they would believe for you while a party of them used to hear the words of Allah and then distort the Torah after they had understood it while they were knowing? After they understood it, meaning they knew and learned it. This is a rebuke to them, meaning these Jews have inherited from their fathers acts of evil and stubbornness, so they are following those same traditions. How can you expect faith from them? This statement also indicates that the one who knows the truth but persists in disobedience is far from guidance, because he knows the promise and the threat, yet that knowledge does not prevent him from being stubborn. Al-Qurtubiyyah 2/213. Guidance. First, responding to religious commands after asking too many complicated questions is a kind of stubbornness or false piety, so they slaughtered her, but they could hardly do it. Second, Allah is capable of revealing your hidden sins, so do not make him seem insignificant to those who are watching you. And recall, when you slew a man and disputed over it, but Allah was to bring out that which you were concealing. Third, sin is the reason for the hardness of the heart, then your hearts became hardened after that. Working with verses. First, the balance of the heart is his retreats. Take some time for yourself, focusing on worship among other acts of worship, for God knows what you conceal and what you reveal. But Allah was to bring out that which you were concealing. Second, beware of staying too long with those who have fragile hearts, and do today a deed that softens your heart, like washing a dead body, burying it, visiting the emergency department, or visiting a worshipper or ascetic. Then your hearts became hardened after that, being like stones or even harder. Third, send a message or an article about some examples of contemporary hypocrisy. And when they meet those who believe, they say, "We have believed." But when they are alone with one another, they say, "Do you talk to them about what Allah has revealed to you so they can argue with you about it before your Lord? Then will you not reign?" This and Allah knows best. And peace, blessings, and mercy be upon our Prophet Muhammad, his family, and all his companions, and praise be to Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. Finally, my dear friend, if you liked the video and benefited from it, do not forget to participate in the reward by liking it, publishing it, subscribing to the channel, and activating the bell so that you receive all new updates.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم
قالوا ادع لنا ربك يبين لنا ما هي إن البقرة شابه علينا وإنا إن شاء الله لمهتدون قال إنه يقول إنها بقرة لا ذلول تثير الأرض ولا تسقي الحرث مسلمة لا شية فيها قالوا الآن جئت بالحق فذبحوها وما كادوا يفعلون وإذ قتلتم نفسا فادارأتم فيها والله مخرج ما كنتم تكتمون فقلنا اضربوه ببعضها كذلك يحيي الله الموتى ويريكم آياته لعلكم تعقلون ثم قست قلوبكم من بعد ذلك فهي كالحجارة أو أشد قسوة وإن من الحجارة لما يتفجر منه الأنهار وإن منها لما يشقق فيخرج منه الماء وإن منها لما يهبط من خشية الله وما الله بغافل عما تعملون أفتطمعون أن يؤمنوا لكم وقد كان فريق منهم يسمعون كلام الله ثم يحرفونه من بعد ما عقلوه وهم يعلمون وإذا لقوا الذين آمنوا قالوا آمنا وإذا خلا بعضهم إلى بعض قالوا أتحدثونهم بما فتح الله عليكم ليحاجوكم به عند ربكم أفلا تعقلون